kiddos, this is Mrs. Colson. I am just posting this story and putting it out there for you. If you would like to use this other than the Wonders app. But this is the story that you are going to be reading today, Friday, April 10th. And you are going to be answering some questions off of this story. So this week you've been reading some fiction stories like Creep Low Fly High and High Fly Guy. And so today we are actually going to look at a nonfiction story about insects, since we have been learning about them all week long. And so what I want you to do today as we're reading through the stories, I just want to see if you can make some connections between a nonfiction text and a fiction text. So what connections can you make between Meet the Insects and Creep Low Fly High, or what connections can you make between Meet the Insects and High Fly Guy, or even what connections can you make between this story and going on your bug walk this week. So there are lots of connections we can make between stories, and I just want you to think about that as we read through the story. This isn't a long story. It's only a couple pages long. You can read along with me. You can just listen, or you can read it on your own, read ahead of me. I'll leave that up to you. But we are going to talk today about meeting the insects. So here we go. It starts off and it says, we can find insects all around the globe. Insects can be lots of shapes, sizes, and colors. There are more insects than any other kind of animal. How can you tell if a bug is an insect? Read on to find out. So the next page at the top, it says the body of an insect, and it says all insects have 6 legs and 3 body parts. Insects have no bones. The outside of an insect's body is hard. It protects the insect's body. Most insects have antennas and wings. And so, boys and girls, earlier in this unit, we actually had a discussion about what that hard outer covering is called on an insect. And I want you to think back and see if you can remember what we call that hard outer covering on an insect's body. And then I also want you to think about, it says that insects don't have bones. And we've learned that a lot of animals do have backbones, but insects do not. So what word would we use to describe an animal that does not have a backbone versus an animal that does have a backbone? And I want you to think about that and see if you can remember what we had talked about, okay? So in our diagram, it just shows the breakdown of what an insect looks like. All insects have, of course, 6 legs. They have 2 antennae, they have a head. This part right here is their thorax, and then of course this body part right there is their abdomen. Over here it says insect senses, and it says insects use their senses to find food. A fly smells with its antennas. It tastes with its feet. That's why flies like to land on food. Interesting. Insects do not see the same as we do. Many insects have more than 2 eyes. A grasshopper has 5. And so on our diagram, it's showing us where his eyes are. So it looks like he has 2 up on his antenna. He's got 2 over here on the side of his head. And it looks like this one maybe is pointing to the top of his head. I'm not really sure, but that is really, really cool. On the last page, it's broken down into a diagram, not a diagram, into a little, into some fact boxes, and it says fun insect facts. So up here at the top, it says some ants can lift 30 times their own weight. This ant lifts a leaf, which to us might seem really light, but to an ant might be super heavy, which is really cool. The second box says right here, a dragonfly can fly up to 60 miles an hour. And then the bottom box says termites build big mounds. They can be up to 30 feet high. Insects are amazing. So cool. So the question down below says, what amazing thing could an ant do in a story? And I want you just to think about, again, those fun facts and what insects can do, because they can do some pretty neat things. All right, so after this, you are going to answer some questions that go along with this story, and you can find those either in the email that I sent or in Class Dojo. And I can't wait to hear what you I can't wait to read what you come up with. Bye, kids.